Nobody tells you this. The person you fall in love with isn't always the person you should marry. At first that sounds cold, maybe even cruel, because we've spent our entire lives believing one beautiful lie, that if two people truly love each other, everything else will somehow work itself out. I believed that too, for 4 years. I thought love was the hardest part. Find the right person, hold on to them, and the rest would take care of itself. But love has a strange way of hiding the questions that marriage eventually forces you to answer. Can you trust each other when life gets difficult? Can you build the same future? Can you survive the ordinary days, not just the extraordinary ones? I didn't know those questions mattered until I met the woman I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, and slowly realized something that broke my heart. She was the love of my life, but not the person I could build a life with, and accepting that hurt far more than losing her. Her name was Emma. I was 28 when we met. Everything made sense on paper. A stable career, a small apartment, a routine that rarely changed. People described me as responsible, reliable. The funny thing is, I wasn't actually living. I was just moving from one responsibility to the next. Wake up, work, come home, sleep, repeat. Then one Saturday, my best friend convinced me to visit a local art festival. I almost didn't go. If I had listened to that thought, this story would have never existed. The festival was too crowded, too loud. I was already looking for an excuse to leave when I noticed someone standing in front of an unfinished painting. Everyone else walked past it. She didn't. She stared at it in complete silence. Curious, I walked over. "You know it isn't finished yet," I said. Without looking at me, she smiled. "I know." "So, why are you staring at it?" She turned toward me. "Because unfinished things tell you more about a person than finished ones." I laughed. "That doesn't make any sense." "It will someday." That was the first sentence Emma ever said to me. And somehow, it stayed with me longer than any pickup line ever could. She wasn't the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She was something rarer. She made ordinary moments feel different. While everyone else rushed through life, Emma noticed it. Old couples holding hands, children laughing at pigeons, the smell of rain before it started. She once stopped our entire walk just to watch an old man feeding stray cats. "People always think the important moments announce themselves," she said. "They don't. They usually look completely ordinary." Years later, I realized she was right. The biggest moments of my life never arrived with fireworks. They arrived quietly and changed everything before I even noticed. Falling in love with Emma happened in pieces. She started leaving handwritten notes inside my jacket pockets. "Remember to look at the sky today. You're allowed to rest without earning it." Every time I found one, my day got a little lighter. Not because of what they said, but because they reminded me someone had been thinking about me when I wasn't around. No one had ever loved me that quietly before. Within a year, she knew how I took my coffee, knew when I went quiet because something was bothering me, and always knew the difference between when I wanted advice and when I just wanted someone beside me in silence. For the first time, love didn't feel exciting. It felt peaceful, safe, like coming home after years of getting lost. Looking back, maybe that's why I ignored every warning sign. Because when someone makes you feel that understood, you stop asking whether you're actually walking toward the same future. You just assume you are. Isn't love supposed to be enough? I thought it was. Until one simple conversation made me question everything I believed about love, marriage, and the difference between the two. That conversation didn't happen overnight. It took years to reach it. The truth is, relationships rarely fall apart because of one big moment. They change because of 100 small ones that seem harmless when they happen. At first, Our differences felt exciting. Emma was spontaneous. I was careful. She booked trips 3 days before leaving. I planned vacations 6 months out. We called it balance. Neither of us realized the same differences that make dating exciting can make marriage incredibly difficult. About 2 years in, my company offered me a promotion. Better pay, better hours, enough stability to finally think about buying a house. I came home grinning. "I think this is it," I told her. "The beginning of our future." She smiled. "I'm happy for you." But there was something strange about the way she said it. Not fake, not forced, just distant. I ignored it. A few weeks later, I started showing her houses online. She listened, she nodded, she smiled, but she never sounded excited. Finally, she closed my laptop. "I need to tell you something. I don't dream about owning a house." I laughed. "Okay, then what do you dream about?" She looked out the window. "I want to keep moving. I want to live in different countries. I want to wake up one day and decide we're spending the next year somewhere we've never been." I smiled, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. That night, neither of us argued. Instead, we did something far more dangerous. We convinced ourselves love would solve it later. Children? We'll talk about it someday. Marriage? We still have time. Every hard conversation got replaced with another date night, another weekend trip. Looking back, we weren't solving problems. We were delaying them. When you're deeply in love, hope can sound a lot like a plan. There was one evening, almost 3 years in, that I still think about. We were having dinner with another couple married for almost 15 years. The husband smiled at his wife and said, "We're completely different people, but somehow, we've always wanted the same life." I didn't think much of it, until I looked across the table and realized Emma had gone unusually quiet. On the drive home, I asked, "What are you thinking about?" She took a long breath. "Do you think two people can love each other and still want completely different lives?" It was such a simple question. I answered without thinking. "No. If they love each other enough, they'll find a way." She nodded, but she didn't say another word. I wish I had asked what she was really feeling. Instead, I rolled down the window, turned up the music, and let the silence speak for both of us. Over the next few months, I started noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. Whenever I talked about building a home, Emma talked about freedom. Whenever I imagined weekends with family, she imagined hiking in countries we'd never visited. Neither of us was trying to change the other. We simply kept hoping, one day, our dreams would magically become the same. They never did. Then, one rainy Tuesday evening, everything changed. No raised voices, no accusations, no betrayal. Just one question, asked across a small dinner table. A question so ordinary that if you'd been sitting next to us, you probably wouldn't have remembered hearing it. But my answer, and hers, would quietly end a future we had spent 4 years building. That was the night I learned love can survive almost anything, except two people walking toward completely different futures.